welcome back to another episode of WRPL, a podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
How you doing, Steve?
Oh, I am just awful.
Yeah, anything significant of importance happen?
I got married yesterday,
Oh,
you know.
Yeah. The old ball and chain.
Life is over for me.
Yeah.
Just...
Now you gotta officially adopt all that boomer humor of like, oh, I hate my wife.
Yeah.
Please take her away. I don't know why I married her.
But in all seriousness, no, I'm quite happy. Yesterday was one of the best days of my life. Had a ton of fun. Got to dance. Got to eat some good food.
Yeah.
Got to meet a lot of interesting new people and got to have a lot of people who I haven't seen in a long time who have been a part of my childhood come and... You know, pay their respects and all that good stuff, and
the death of your bachelorhood.
Whoa! But no, it was awesome. I couldn't have asked for a better day. Weather was great.
Yeah, Steve actually, he's so well connected. Vladimir Putin showed up to his wedding. It was great.
Yep. We're just gonna leave it at that.
Yep. No further details, Your Honor.
Wouldn't that be kind of funny though, if like you just knew me from my normal everyday life, and then somehow like I'm real close with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, I know there's a war going on, but
I can't miss my guy Steve's party.
Well, congratulations, Steve.
Thanks, man. I'm super happy.
Well, because of wedding things, Steve doesn't have very much to talk about.
Yeah,
today.
it's been a busy time.
And because of no other reasons besides laziness, I don't have anything to talk about. There's a ton of new movies this week. There's lots of shows I'm interested in. Still trying to get through Disco Elysium. Don't hold your breath for that episode. It may never happen, depending on how frustrated we get. But we do have something new to talk about. But before we get to that, our main topic, well, I guess I should say what it is. We're going to talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once. Mm-hmm. As much as we can. It's a weird movie to talk about because there's not a lot of plot you need to talk about. It's just kind of more, how did this movie make you feel, and what was shown in front of your eyes that was interesting. But breaking down scene to scene, you know, it's not really that type of movie. But we'll do our best.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to break down a scene when it's jump cutting between
Seven different
realities, yeah. But we'll get to that.
Well, before we get started, do you have anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to bring up? Or you want to just save it for a later time?
Just that I love my wife. Hi, wife.
She doesn't listen to this.
No, of course she doesn't. I don't want her to.
Even our closest friends and stuff. My girlfriend, I know she hasn't listened to it. I think... she's actively avoiding all conversations about it, so she doesn't ever have to.
Oh, of course.
And also, yeah, I don't really care if she does, because I may say some real dumb shit on here that I don't really realize through the eyes of someone else. And maybe it's best that the people who know us the best don't need to listen to this, and we should just be anonymous, faceless people on the internet. Yeah.
My wife's brother knows we have it and has told me he has listened to an episode, but we haven't talked about it at all. And
I just get instantly embarrassed. But just saying, like, oh, I have a podcast, and being a white dude with glasses and a beard, it's like, yeah, of course you do. You're a fucking loser. Of course you would.
Yeah, I was dreading if, like, I'm walking around the party and just, like, talking to him and stuff, and then all of a sudden he's just like, oh, yeah, it's like, tell me about Triggers or something. And it's like, oh, well, he has a podcast or whatever. It's like,
Yeah. I was thinking about that.
Embarrassed of the podcast per se. It's just I don't want to talk to people about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Because most of the time, the people that you would talk to about it, maybe they're not into this sort of stuff, so it's really foreign to them. And I don't know, it'd just be like talking about, you know, car maintenance to me.
Right.
You know, it's like I don't really have any interest in that. But anywho...
listen to our podcast.
Yeah! Subscribe and tell your friends. And don't try to look up what we look like, because you'll be horrified. All right, so we don't have anything else with this episode. Maybe short and sweet, but we'll do our best.
Yeah. My brain's half melted anyway, so...
Yeah, and I saw this over a week ago, so I'll be a little foggy on certain things, but, you know, try my best.
Okay. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I will say, however, that usually when it comes to movies, if I don't talk about it right away, I forget so much of it.
Yeah.
Where I feel like this movie was so interesting, it's been hard for me. I feel like I remember so much about it. Not necessarily like lines of dialogue or anything like that, but just like I feel like I remember the whole movie. Like once we start talking about it, like it all you really come pouring back.
Hopefully. So Everything Everywhere All at Once is a movie written and directed by Daniels. Two guys. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schneider.
Yep.
Schneider. Is that how you pronounce it?
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah.
One of those. Sorry, dude. Who have written and directed the Turn Down for What video. And
oh yeah,
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's theirs. And Swiss Army Man.
I knew that one.
Have you seen Swiss Army Man?
I watched it with a mutual friend of ours, but we started at like 1 a.m. and I think I might have been drunk at the time. This was like when it first came out on Blu-ray, and so I got I think like 20 minutes in and I fell asleep.
Yeah, that sounds like you.
Yeah.
So, well, I I have seen Swiss Army Man, and I love it. It is really funny and completely absurd. And it kind of gave me Where the Wild Things Are vibes. I know that's Spike Jonze, but it just kind of had that fantastical element.
Yeah. Side note real quick? What a weird fucking movie that is.
Which one? Swiss Army Man? Where
the Wild Things Are. Because it's like, when I saw that trailer, I was like, man, that looks gorgeous. I love the looks of these things. And then you go see that movie, and it's like not a kid's movie.
No.
But it's not really an adult movie either. It's just like an existential crisis for children. And it's not what I expected. And I'm surprised that they let Spike Jonze make this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it was bad or anything. It's just it's been so long since I watched it. But like clearly they marketed it to try and like bring kids in, but it's
there's
nothing for kids to like in that movie.
It's just like an indie thing that happens to be based on a very popular kids book.
Yeah. Just weird. Yeah. Weird choices all around. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Swiss Army Man, loved it. Very funny, really fun special effects and how they use this corpse as a Swiss Army knife. But then the end, it takes a turn and you figure out what's really going on, and it's pretty heartbreaking, but excellent. So the two Daniel boys have made a new movie. Apparently they were approached to do Loki, and they said, nah, we'll go do our own multiverse thing. And that's what they did. And for $25 million, they made this beautiful piece of work. I'm so impressed of how nice it looks, and especially with the editing and the effects. Everything just works so well for being a, quote unquote cheap movie.
Right.
That's something, I think like The Northman is like $70 million. And it's like, wow, that's, pretty cheap for a period piece. Shot on location epic. And then you have other things that are just like The Secrets of Dumbledore or whatever, probably $200 million.
150.
Yeah.
175.
Something like that. Only made like $7 million more than Morbius's opening weekend. Just really tanking. And it just shows that you don't need a ton of money to make a good movie. You just need people who want to tell a really good story.
Yeah. And I also have another theory that I just acquired this very second, and because of that, I don't believe it at all. But I'm just gonna pitch it.
Okay.
What if Disney, with their infinite power and money of having like Marvel and Star Wars and all that stuff, is just paying people to get actors in trouble? I don't mean like necessarily like sexual assault allegations or anything like that, but just like, we're gonna hire these people who are gonna be total fuck ups, but we're going to make Sony think that they're great actors, and then they're going to put them in these movies, and they're just going to fucking tank them. We're giving you the Ezra Millers. We're giving you the Amber Heards. We're giving you just all these people are just like, oh, you're going to build your universe, and then 2 years from now, they're going to fucking tank your universe. And just like ruining Harry Potter. We're going to ruin the DC universe. We're going to ruin I was going to say the Mummy franchise, but like, that's not... Tom Cruise is still great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my new theory that I just came up with just now.
They're purposely... there was a story about...
so only Disney can reign supreme.
Okay, I mean, it could work. When Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone had their feud of who's going to be the best muscle man, the best action star, who's going to make more money, who's who's going to take a bigger paycheck. There was a huge competition, and Arnold Schwarzenegger played a prank, getting the word to Sylvester Stallone that he was going to do Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Mm-hmm. And Sylvester Stallone's like, oh, no, you won't. I'm going to do this one first. And so he got it, and Arnold Schwarzenegger knew it was going to be a huge turn. And so he ends up making this terrible comedy, and it was like such an embarrassment to him. And, you know, it was all for the prank, which is really funny. And I just like to say, I went and saw Stop or My Mom Will Shoot in theaters for one of my birthdays, because that's generally what I did. Sure. I just had friends over and we saw a movie, and that was just, you know, my birthday's in February, not a very great month for releases, so I could take what I could get. And yeah, we saw Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I remember liking it. I mean, we were a bunch of kids. I mean, I can't see us being more than like 11 years old when that came out, but
So of those two, who do you think is the greatest muscle? And I'm not just talking about action movies per se, over their careers and who they've become. Yeah, I mean,
more classic characters. It's like, who name a character that Sylvester Stallone, besides, you know, Rocky and Rambo, he's got those two. Like, name any of his other characters. Like, oh, that guy from this, that guy from this. You don't necessarily know, but I think with Schwarzenegger, you know a ton of his characters, and also maybe because his characters, he's gotten a lot of sequels. He has franchises where Sylvester Stallone, he has the Expendable and Rocky. Those are the only like franchise. Oh, I guess Rambo's a franchise too.
Yeah, I mean, Jingle All the Way is enough to launch
Junior, Twins.
Yeah, I mean, Stallone has the benefit of like writing and directing an Oscar movie, a Best Picture winner.
Yeah.
So it's just like, so that gave him a ton of points for a while, and then you just kept making sequels, and they got progressively worse. Even though Rocky IV is pretty much, a fan favorite or whatever, and Rocky Balboa was actually pretty good.
I don't think I ever saw five.
But yeah, anyway, even though he has that, I agree with you that, you know, Stallone has better movies and better characters overall. And then I feel like I don't necessarily know his politics all that well, but I feel like he's done a pretty good job from an actor turned...
You mean Schwarzenegger? I think you said Stallone.
I'm sorry, Schwarzenegger, yeah.
I mean, he's like a fake Democrat. He's more Republican than anything. Once he was in office, he was very Republican, and when he's out of office, he's very Democrat.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know any of his policies or anything. I just doesn't seem like there's a lot of people who dislike him in that role, but maybe that's just because they like his movies, and so they just kind of forget about it.
I mean, it was a long time ago, and I wasn't living in California when he was the governor, but yeah, I don't think he was really that well loved. I think it was just a novelty thing.
Honestly, I thought he was still like in politics right now.
No,
so
he's done.
He's just an old man retired.
He did his 2 terms and went back to acting.
Oh, maybe that's why I think everyone likes him, just because. But they like him because he's not doing anything now. Yep. Never mind. I need to get put on current events.
Yeah, I'm sure they're both Hollywood creeps. But allegedly, who knows?
Cut that.
So where do we start with this movie?
We're talking about a movie today?
Yeah. We talked about the directors. They don't have a very big filmography except for what I already stated. You want to give us a rundown of like the general plot?
Sure. So there is Michelle Yeoh's character. She runs a laundromat. She's got a husband and older father who lives with her, and her young...
He's coming into town.
Oh, sorry. He's coming into town. Grandpa's coming into town.
Gong Gong.
Gong Gong. Yeah. And she lives above the laundromat with her husband and her daughter. And life is crazy at the old laundromat, and she's a woman who's really busy, and the husband and the daughter both try and like have conversation with her, but she's always working and worrying about every single little detail of everything and her relationship with her father, and they're all kind of annoyed with her in different respects, and she just feels like her life isn't what she wants it to be. And then suddenly this different version of her husband shows up, and it's just like, you're the only one who can save the multiverse. And then she gets launched into these different universes and experiences these different lives, and through these lives gains new skills to fight some interdimensional being that is threatening to destroy all known universes, essentially.
Yeah. I really like the family dynamic from the get-go. You know, the husband just seems like just eager to please. He really loves his wife. Daughter and mother are a little estranged because the daughter is gay, and she just doesn't seem to be all that accepting of that, which I think is something to bring up later.
Okay.
And they're celebrating Chinese New Year. They're just inviting any of the patrons to come and hang out, but they also...
Which I think is so nice.
Yes.
But if I own a laundromat, I don't expect any of my customers to be so loyal that they want to come hang out.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was like the nicest thing because I've never seen a business do that.
Yeah.
Like I've seen businesses participate in like block party events and like that kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, we hang out with the community, but like not just come to our store and like hang out with us.
Yeah,
it was really sweet. It was really sweet.
Yeah, but very nice. Let's see, but they have to do their taxes. They are being audited by Jamie Lee Curtis. She has a real funny name, I think.
Yeah, it's like Brianna Diana or something like that.
It's Deirdre Beaudeirdre.
Deirdre Beaudeirdre, yeah.
In a great role. Like, she's really fun.
Yeah, I think she had a lot of fun in this movie.
Yeah, they're doing their taxes, but she's not having it. Jamie Lee Curtis is pretty much kind of showing them that they may be committing fraud and they may lose their business. And then, like you said, her husband from another universe jumps into the body of her current husband and puts little earbuds in her and says, look, I'm from another universe. You need to help me save all the universes. And she's just like, you're being a weirdo. Stop. Knock it off. But then she's able to start doing things. He asks her to like put her shoes on different feet and think real hard. And she's able to like jump into her body in a different universe, but still like listen in on what's going on in her universe. It's a little hand wavy of the science. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but who cares? It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I think the thing that makes it work though is because the concept is absurd. By doing absurd things, it just kind of like it's so absurd that it works. You know what I'm trying to say?
And I really like the little, like, you have to do certain tasks in order to tap into your multiverse selves. So when the husband, his name is Waymond, with a W. Is that a real name, Waymond?
Yeah. Well,
I've heard Wayland, but not Waymond. It's like Raymond, but you have a speech impediment.
Well, the funny thing is, I thought there's another man who shows up late in the film who was the older Asian man from Workaholics, who never like spoke.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought his name was Waymond in that. But was that Waylon on the show or Waymond?
It may have been Waymond. Maybe it is a real name. And
that's why I was just like, you never hear the name Waymond a lot, but then I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, wasn't his name Waymond?
I totally forgot about that. Anyhow. So you have to do something like he eats a tube of chapstick.
Yeah.
And then he's able to like tap into a version of himself that's a martial artist.
But when he did that, I thought, I was just like, what the hell is the point? Because they don't explain that until a few minutes later, and it's like, oh, okay, that's...
And then you go, oh, okay, I understand with the putting shoes on the wrong feet.
Yeah.
And you have to do these little mundane things. It may be something like, cut your hand or put this thing in your butt. But it allows you to kind of slingshot and get to the multiverse and tap into that is helpful to you.
So when you saw those trophies that Jamie Lee Curtis pointed to, she's like,
instantly.
Were you just like, that's a butt plug,
right? That's a butt plug, yeah.
And it's like, how long before that goes into someone's ass? And it's just like, of course it does.
Instantly, I leaned to the person I was seeing it with, and it was like, those look like butt plugs. And she laughed. And then like 2 seconds later, they focus in on it and like, okay, this is definitely happening. And so we have people like launching themselves butt first at these trophies just so they can unlock a special power.
I mean, I know we're jumping all over the place. I feel like it's appropriate though for this
very
movie.
Much.
But like when that guy jumped full like in the air and when like you saw him like slow motion about to land, like I covered my face. I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this right now.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I was laughing, but it was a sight to behold. But real quick, jumping back to the beginning, I gotta say, from the first 15 minutes of this movie, I was like, damn, this is great. and like nothing multiverse has even happened yet. Like.
Just like long takes of walking around the...
Well, not necessarily that from a directing standpoint, yes. But I just mean from a story perspective. Like, within the first 15 minutes, you have learned everything you need to know about all three characters in this movie. And their lives and why they are the way they are, essentially. And what motivations they have going forward. And just, you got everything you needed to set up what's going to come. Yeah, just from seeing how busy she was and the husband being an adorable little goofball and like being friendly with the customers, and she's asking him to do things, but it seems like he's always getting distracted and
putting googly eyes on things.
Yeah, he's trying to like lighten her day up by putting googly eyes over stuff, but it just like annoys her because it's like this isn't helping me when I'm trying to like do all this other work. And the daughter's trying to have like 5 minutes of conversation with her, but she just like doesn't want to have the conversation because like her dad doesn't. She's like, why don't you tell grandpa that, you know, I'm gay, this is my girlfriend or whatever. And she's like, I don't care that you have a girlfriend, but like, you know,
he's from another time
in another country, you know, China or whatever. But yeah, 15 minutes in, I was like really into this movie. Just before the crazy stuff happened, I was like, this is how you introduce characters. And I was thoroughly impressed from the get-go.
Well, do you want to talk about actors since we were talking about characters? And
yeah, well, Michelle Yeoh is obviously a legend.
Yep.
But you never really get to see her shine. I mean, I'm not sure how big her career in China was in terms of like her.
I think it was pretty big.
No, I mean, I know she's a superstar over there. I just don't know, like, you know, we couldn't name a Michelle Yeoh led film, could you?
Crazy Rich Asians? She's in that, right?
She's in it. She doesn't.
She's not the lead. She's in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for 10 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that I've ever seen her, like, really act.
Yeah.
And she's really good.
Yeah, she's good in this.
I mean, she's always been good. I mean, I saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon when I was, like, 10 or 11, whenever that movie came out. But I don't remember it, so I can't really say, like, oh, well, she was really great in that. But, yeah, she's good. But, and her daughter, who I've seen in a lot recently, she was in the newest season of The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Okay.
And she's really good on that show. I think she's definitely an actress on the come up, so she's really great in this. But honestly, Wayman is the breakout star of this movie.
Yeah, Ke-Huy Quan.
Yeah, who people might know as Data from The Goonies.
Or Short Round from Temple of Doom.
Or Short Round from Temple of Doom. Hasn't acted really in 20 years, and this is their first thing back, and he is fucking great in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's my pick for Best Supporting Actor as of right now.
I hope so.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get it,
Sure.
because it's kind of like a silly comedic role. But I just think he's great.
Yeah.
I think he's so good in this movie. Like, just the way he jumps back in and out of character.
Yeah, just like his posture will change when he's like more confident and powerful, and then he hunches back over when he goes back into regular Wayman.
And we'll get into it when there's a scene towards the end where you see a universe of him, and he's like in a suit with glasses, and it's kind of shot like a Wong Kar-wai film. I think I said that guy's name right. I'm sorry. Double check it. Shit. But it's just like this real beautifully shot scene where he really just kind of like gets to act dramatic. I'm like, damn, where the fuck has this guy been? Like, he's
just doing fight choreography in China.
So I'm glad he's back. I hope he does more movies if it's anything like this, because I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. The daughter, Stephanie, it's HSU.
I think that's just Sue. Yeah.
Just Sue? Okay. Stephanie Sue plays Joy Wang. Apparently, this character was supposed to be played by Awkwafina.
I did read that, yep.
Damn, we dodged a bullet. That would have been so obnoxious.
I mean,
Did you see her just being like the big evil overlord at the end and just being so annoying?
I see where that idea can come from. The thing is, like, when on paper, I think, of course, it's Awkwafina. I think I easily see Awkwafina in this role, but I'm glad Stephanie Sue did it. I think she's a great choice and definitely killed this role. And I think Awkwafina, not so, because Awkwafina can act. I think she's actually great, but I think she's become so big that it'd be distracting at this point. Like, I like that they got a lesser known person too. And like, yeah, you've seen Michelle Yeoh in things, but like I said, I think most American audiences have never seen her lead anything, so they are not like super connected to her. And no one's seen this Data for 20 years. Yeah. So it's like essentially almost a movie of unknowns in a way, which is what I like about it. But if you throw Awkwafina in it, then is it the Awkwafina movie? Yeah. So. Yeah.
I'm glad. Like, there are things that she's in that I don't mind, but I can just hear her very scratchy voice yelling at her mom and just not getting me on her side. Like, I was very much on Joy's side for a lot of things, but you put Awkwafina in that role, it'd be like, yeah, there's a reason your mom doesn't love you. She loves her daughter. So then we have Jamie Lee Curtis as Deirdre Bobeirdre. Great name. IRS agent in an awful wig and fake boobs. It's like, just looks atrocious.
Yeah, they made her look as stumpy as possible, and honestly, it made it funny.
Yeah. And then I was very surprised Jenny Slate's in this. No idea.
Me neither. When she showed up, I was like, oh, cool. But, I mean, she doesn't really do anything in it. But...
She swings a dog around, by its leash. She has a little action scene. But I just felt so bad because they just refer to her as Big Nose. And I know she would take that in stride. She maybe would even suggest that joke, but it just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was like, is this anti-Semitic? Or is this just, I mean, she does. Yeah. So, like, that's just the scripter. But, yeah, anyway.
Anywho. So we have our characters, and they're trying to do their taxes, and we're getting multiverse jumping around. And we get all types of different weird multiverse things, from a world where you have hot dog fingers to a place where ratatouilles happen in real life. And then somewhere, because our main story is her and Wayman. Her name's Evelyn?
Evelyn, yeah.
Yeah. Evelyn and Wayman, they met when they were kids. They fell in love, ran away to America, and started this laundromat. And so we see that there have been other versions where they don't get together and she becomes a famous movie star. And one where she's skipping down the road and blinds herself and she becomes a very popular singer. And other ones where she's a Benihana chef, and other where she's a pizza sign spinner, and just all these different lives that she could have had if you made little changes. And if anybody knows me, I love that what if thing. That's Run Lola Run is my second favorite movie of just small changes make big
impacts.
Yes. So what was your favorite universe?
Ratatouille. Yeah.
God, it's such a good joke.
Well, I liked it that they kind of talked about it, and then it was like, oh, what an absurd idea, but then they actually did show it.
And when you see that Benihana chef and he's going nuts, I noticed there was a raccoon tail coming out of his hat, and I thought,
really?
Like, is that just a costume thing, and was that his hair? Did I just see?
I didn't notice the tail, yeah.
And so I was just like, I wonder if they're actually going to do that, and surprise, they did. And I guess it was like Randy Newman did the voice of the raccoon, or Danny Elfman.
Yeah, I think it was Randy Newman. Yeah. It was just like, because
he just makes little squeak sounds. Like, why do you get that?
Totally absurd. Yeah. I mean, the hot dog fingers was fun. And I have a question for you.
Okay.
There's a kind of a love scene with the hot dog fingers. And like, one person has mustard in their mouth, one person has ketchup, and they're just kind of like...
Yeah.
Sucking on them or whatever. I was like, is that how they make love in this universe?
I don't know.
And if so, because you never see like necessarily anything come out of the hot dog.
They just have it on them.
It's like, did they put it on their fingers and then and then they just like...
I think they bite them and they squirt out.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah.
I just thought like maybe that's like, is that their version of jizz? Mustard and ketchup.
Maybe.
And that.
But it's disgusting.
It's gross.
And like, their hands are worthless. They can't do anything, so they do a lot of stuff with their feet. But if we evolved, and I've said this before, if we evolved with a third arm, imagine you had a third arm where the elbow is in the middle of your sternum,
Okay.
And it just kind of hung up on your shoulder. That would change everything. How our cars drive, because now that we use 3 hands, there may be another functions. Think of music instruments. How different would every music instrument be if you had a third arm? Guitars would be probably pretty crazy. Pianos would be nuts. So there would be major impacts of how we do things. Oh, that middle hand is, maybe it's the service hand and you use it to like shake or pass money, but your other hands those are your personal hands. Who knows? So when you have hot dog fingers, they have a piano, but then they're using their feet, but their toes didn't evolve to be better or anything.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that I believe the song was Claire de Lune. There's just like Jamie Lee Curtis playing Claire de Lune flawlessly with her toes.
With her toes.
And yeah,
isn't she even like driving her car with her feet? Like they were eating with them.
Yeah.
It was just disgusting. And so I got a question about that. They make it seem that you could go into your own self. You're only the other versions of you from multiverse. But she goes way back in time into some random primate with hot dog fingers, kills its opponent, and becomes, the dominant species.
Nice little reference to 2001.
Yeah. So can you go into other people, or is that necessarily her ancestor, or what? Because that's the only time I think we see you going into someone that's not you.
Now, does she... Oh, well, okay. I guess that'd be the only way for you to really see it. I was going to say, does she actually go into that, or is that just a quick cut as like, that's how this universe came to be, but there'd be no reason to show that unless she did go back. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that this is like, they just wanted to make a joke, so they just threw this in here.
Sure. And it's like they go into rocks at one point. So like
I did love the rock.
The rock is great. When it turns and it had googly eyes, I died. This movie is really funny. It has a lot of comedic points. But yeah, they go into rocks. It's not like there's a biological connection to rocks. They even say that's a world where life never existed. So how can you go into a rock? That's not your former self. Mm. So those are dumb nitpicky things of like, oh, well, your science of your multiverse movie doesn't work out.
And I mean, there is a quick montage of like flashing through all these different universes that you don't see. They might have come up with like 100 different universes that we never saw, which I'd be interested to know.
Yeah,
like,
I want to see more.
Yeah, because I mean, it happens so fast. It's like each picture doesn't even last a second up there. You're just like, oh, you miss so much, but you see like an animated one. It's like, well, why would you jump into an animated world? Like, that doesn't make sense either. Yeah.
Well, since we kind of were talking about the hot dog fingers, Evelyn actually has a relationship with Jamie Lee Curtis in that world. Like, they both are hot dog finger people, and they are married or dating. So, and then at the very end, Evelyn says to her dad, like, I was worried she was going to turn out like me when talking about her daughter. Mm-hmm. And I think you're supposed to assume, like, oh, she's going to become kind of a loser and not do anything with her life. But I think Evelyn may be gay, or at least bi. I mean, she married Wayman, but they don't seem like super in love anymore. But if in this universe she was able to have a relationship with Jamie Lee Curtis, that is just like a weird... And so like maybe she is closeted, but being raised in China, she could never express that. Gets involved with this person, has a gay daughter, and is like, I know that there are things that... if you come out, it can be bad. This is not how I was raised. That's not how you're going to be raised. And so that's why she suppresses it.
Okay. I never thought of it that way, and I could see that. I could also see that just being like, well, if there's infinite versions of Evelyn, why wouldn't there be versions of her who are gay that have nothing to do with like?
If they could have hot dog fingers built into their genetics, they could have one that's like, okay, this thing's split and this one's straight, this one's gay. Sure. Different things.
Yeah. So I didn't pick that up, but that might be a thing. That's a cool thought. So back to the plot, the meat of the story.
Sure.
So we find out that we already said there's an interdimensional being that's planning on destroying the multiverse, and you find out that it is Joy, but not our version of Joy. It turns out that the world that Wayman Prime, or what are they called? Alpha Wayman, the world he comes from, his Evelyn was a super genius scientist who discovered the multiverse and how to sort of navigate it with this technology, and experimented on Joy
and like really pushed her to learn.
Joy was a prodigy of multiverse usage or whatever, and so they pushed her to new limits until she kind of like she existed in all universes at the same time and essentially became, I guess, this sort of godlike figure who just went around to every universe and killed all the Evelyns for revenge.
I think I read it somewhere. It was more of she wanted to find someone who could like understand what she's going through.
Yeah,
she's
correct.
experiencing everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard. And so then she finds this Evelyn who is able to kind of relate because she is the Evelyn that never amounted to anything. And I really like that she was the one that couldn't make a decision of like where to take her life. She kind of just ended up in this default position, but it puts her in the position to be able to go into these other universes easier than everybody else.
Right. It's an interesting concept to go, I can't imagine that the sign flipping Evelyn has a great life or whatever. It's like there's Evelyns out there who probably have financially worse life or relationship wise have a worse life, but apparently this Evelyn, the main Evelyn in this film, is the worst version of Evelyn because essentially she's boring.
She really just amounted to nothing.
She just amounted to nothing, and just everything came kind of like at default. And I guess, and that's just really, really sad when you put it that way.
But hey, if that version of you is the worst version, it's like you're a business owner, you're married, you have a child. That's okay. I mean, and they don't even have like the worst relationship. It's not like people are so abusive that it's completely toxic. Like, yeah, they have their own issues, but you would think the worst version would be homeless in a gutter and an addict and a thief and something like that. But
yeah, I mean, I think it might be a little bit of a stretch, but I get the concept of where they're coming from. But it's like it'd be hard to sell me just like, oh, this Evelyn who like is doing back alley deals or for chump change so she can buy drugs. You're telling me like at least she's living the life she wants to on a day-to-day basis, but she chose this versus the Evelyn who didn't choose anything.
Yeah.
Maybe, but that's a hard sell for me.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the Alphaverse a bit.
Okay.
So these are like not Prime because our characters that we watch we consider Evelyn Prime and Joy Prime.
Right.
There are our viewpoints, but in the Alpha universe, Wayman and Evelyn, they still get together because they have Joy. So what? In Alpha and Prime, what was the split that made our version go laundromat owners and this one is multidimensional scientists? There had to have been something that happened because they still left China together, or assume they still got together. They still had their child at the same pace. But then what happened that made this one so much more scientifically advanced? They never touch on what was that small change. I would like to know what that is.
I mean, I get that concept, but I don't need to see everything that leads to everything. I just this is the universe. Okay, I'll buy that, and it just is what it is.
That's fine.
Because then you're explaining the 10 plus different universes.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be like, oh, how does the Ratatouille thing actually work? How does she affect the world so much that you could have a chef and a raccoon actually talk to each other? You don't have to explain that. Those are just for jokes. But this is our main alternate timeline that sets things in motion with this technology. You could hand wave she was really smart, she went to school and learned this thing, but like just what was the change? It's like, hey, we could really buy this laundromat. I don't know. I really want to go back to school and get my degree in physics or whatever. Right. Just something like that. Just a small little thing, but doesn't break the movie, so not that big of a deal.
Yeah, and it's funny that's like the universe where technology is advanced, but you never really see that universe. The only time you really see that universe is them in the middle of
a desert in
a van, and all the technology in that van looks it screamed indie movie to me. Where it's just like, but not even like a good indie movie. It's just like we need to have a bunch of stuff that lights up, and wires, and we'll just throw it in this van.
Take a bunch of VCRs apart, glue them together, make sure the lights work.
It's a makeshift crazy science lab, and it just looks like shit. It's like, oh, this is the super advanced technology that travels multiverses.
And that Joey killed that Evelyn, right? Did they mention that, or does...
I believe that was I think that was probably the first Evelyn to die.
Yeah.
And then she goes and kills thousands of other Evelyns across the multiverse.
But not upset with her dad. Doesn't go after her dad at all.
Because her dad's a delight in every universe.
Sure, that's very true.
And they do make a point of that at the end, which we'll get to, because I'm really excited to talk about the end.
Okay.
But, I mean, do we have anything else to... Well, let's talk about the action in this film. What did you think about the action sequences?
I expected a bit more.
Yeah, this is where the middle part of the movie is when I started to get a little bit tired of it. Only because it was fun at first, but then it just got more and more silly. And then I was worried that this movie couldn't decide if it wants to be an action movie, if it wants to be a drama, if it wants to be a comedy.
Yeah.
And it all ended up blending well in the end. But the middle part is when it started. Like, okay, I'm about to check my watch if this is what it just keeps on being. Just because it kept getting more and more absurd. So this movie definitely has a lot of similarities to The One, starring Jet Li, which is not a great film.
No, but and I think one of our leads worked on that, like either Michelle Yeoh or Wayman.
I believe it was Wayman. He did work on
martial arts for it. Which is a bad movie. The One sucks. I haven't seen it since it came out, but that movie is bad.
Yeah, it's bad. But fun concept. For anyone who doesn't know what The One is about, Jet Li. A bunch of different Jet Li exists in a bunch of different.
It's like 100 universes.
100 universes.
There's a limited,
and there's one Jet Li who's killing all the other ones. But by killing all the other ones, the other ones get stronger until there's only 2 left. And so now they're kind of like these super powered kung fu masters, and have to face off until there's only the one.
Yep.
So
and it's got Jason Statham, so that should be your clue enough to avoid.
So yeah, you have the one sort of kung fu master Jet Li, and then you have like I guess the dork version, if I remember correctly.
But he's getting better.
He's getting better and better because he's now picking up these skills from these other universes that have died off. So in this one, you have Michelle Yeoh who's like, oh, I can learn kung fu through my spinning sign universe, but I'll use that with a shield and fight guys with that.
Oh, this one is a good singer, so I have better breath control. I could hold my breath when they put the poison gas in.
Which I love all that stuff. I think it's a lot of fun, but it did...
Because it's fun on three things. It's like, it's fun of how do you use that power to your advantage, because usually it's pretty kooky.
Yeah.
It's... fun of where's that coming from? Like, oh, hold your breath so you don't get poison gas. Cool. Oh, okay, the universe it comes from, well, you would think like maybe a swimmer or something, but it's like, oh no, she's a singer. Right. So she has great breath control. That's interesting. And then the means to how to unlock that power. So every time you do a weird little multiverse learning skills, you get 3 really interesting bits.
So I think this is why it worked in its advantage, to where it didn't, like, yes, it was constantly a little ridiculous, but I think that the comedy and action blended really well. It's like, I think when you do the breath thing, they even said something along the lines like, well, there is a swimmer universe, but she has to break her arm if she wants. And it's like, well, she doesn't want to do that, so the best thing we can do is send her to the singer universe. So there was sort of an explanation of just like, so she's not, she might have access to the best power, but she's not willing to do the thing to get the best power. Which I kind of liked that aspect of it. So it wasn't just like, it gave her a handicap to where it's like, oh, well, then she just has all the best powers at all the times. Which, isn't fun from a story perspective. But then it's, okay, well, we'll give her this good power, but now she has to fart in a handbasket or something like that. She doesn't do that in the movie. I don't know why that was the first thing I came to. But, doing the comedy and the action together is good. After a while, it was just so much action for the whole middle part. I was like, I was getting tired of it.
Yeah. And there wasn't any one bit that I thought, that's a really cool thing, especially when it's not an American stunt team that's doing the choreography for this. Usually you watch old Jackie Chan and like, even if maybe some of the fights aren't great, you remember when he slid down that building or he did this one thing. I don't think it really has anything like that.
No,
but they're all fun enough.
Yeah, I think the one they wanted to be their big moment was like the finger attacks.
Yeah.
Well, she did like one finger attack that made the like
the
Smash Brothers sound. I was like, hey, I know what that is. So that was kind of fun. But it's just like this anime style, like she just flicks her finger and like the strength from her fingers just like launch these people across the room and like through walls or whatever. And I was like, it was fun, but once again, it was just like, imagine like old white people seeing this movie. They're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. I would not be surprised if they walked out. But how was your theater? Was there many people in it?
It was more than I expected because I didn't expect a lot of people in there, but it wasn't a ton. I mean, I also went super early on a weekday, so there was like 20 people in there.
Okay, yeah, I think
which I thought was pretty good for what I was seeing. For sure.
I think I had less than that, but still, enough people, and everybody seemed to be having a good time.
Yeah, a lot of people were laughing the whole time. Yeah, people were enjoying it.
One last thing I almost say about the fighting. I think my favorite bit was they're doing all this amazing stuff, and then like they lose their ability to fight. And they just start like doing a little slap fight. It's like you have these two people who are doing these amazing things, and then you just instantly like take the butt plug out, and they're worthless. Yeah. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, I never imagined when I walked in that movie that I'd see people with their pants off with butt plug trophies sticking out of them as they were fighting, and then I wasn't there a slow motion where he's like jumps over her? Oh no, they go to like hit her high and low, and so she like slides sideways in the middle and like pulls their butt plugs out at the same time, so that's how she defeats them. Fun little bit, but I can't believe I saw that on a screen.
Yeah. In a major motion picture release.
In a major motion picture release.
So the title cards. We have 3 main title cards, like with a lot of things. It's usually Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. First one is called Everything. Second one is Everywhere, and third is All the Time.
All at once.
All at once. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's a Bo Burnham. Everything, everywhere, all of the time.
Watch Bo Burnham.
Yeah. Inside, right?
Inside. Yeah.
Inside.
And just all of his other stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, anything he does. And Promising Young Woman. Yeah. Great movie. So when the first title card comes up, I like you see that and you go, okay, 3-act structure. I get it. But then it was a long time until the second one came up. And when it finally did, I kind of forgot about it. And I was like, oh, shit. Are we only at the second act of this 3-act? But luckily, the second act was much shorter, and the third one comes pretty close afterwards.
Yeah, essentially the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. So that was thankful, because I think it was... Oh, yeah, it was Green Knight. Every time, like, a new chapter would come up, and like, I don't know how many chapters are in this thing. Like, we're on 4 now? Could this may go to 8 or something? Or Melancholia. I remember it's like part 1, and then when it gets to part 2, I was like, oh fuck, we're only halfway through this thing. Good movie, but yeah, I don't know. Title cards work sometimes. Other times it makes you very much aware of how long you've been sitting watching it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're my favorite thing. Like Tarantino stuff kind of pulls it off. I just don't like them because I don't want anything that sort of takes me out of the movie I'm in and like makes me realize I'm watching a movie. And I think title cards are a big indicator of that. Just like, oh yeah, and then I have to jump back into the story. Yeah. I don't need a reminder that I'm watching a thing or like, oh, this is the next part. Cool. Like you can tell the story without them almost always. But they were fine in this. And
wasn't it at the end of the first one? We kind of pull out, like the credits start rolling, and then we pull out, and we're inside a movie theater.
Oh,
and that movie was also directed by Daniels.
I love that bit. Yeah, that was funny.
And I like seeing how they would be affected. Like at one point, they had hot dog fingers. The woman who played that TV show, she's in a ton of stuff, and everything she's in, she's so good. I can never remember her name, but yeah. Anywho. What else?
Let's see.
Ratatouille was. Let me talk about Ratatouille real quick.
Let's talk about Ratatouille.
So yeah, she's just a Benihana chef, and she's not as good as her coworker. And it turns out he has a raccoon underneath his big chef hat, doing a ratatouille. I love that. Like everybody kind of knows, like Brad Bird. Oh, he did Mission Impossible. He did The Incredibles. He did Iron Giant. But I think a lot of people forget that he did Ratatouille. And that is become such a cultural thing. And even if people don't really care about the movie, everybody understands what a ratatouilleing means. And it's, you don't see it as much of like, this is a big, like touchstone of pop culture. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you don't like that movie, but at least he added that to the world.
Yeah, when you talk Pixar movies, most of the time you kind of forget that
Ratatouille and Bug's Life get left off everything.
Yeah, they often forgotten, and it's interesting that that's the one thing that just carried on.
Yeah.
It's just like it's interesting what and movies or TV shows where it's like, oh yeah, this doesn't really have like an audience, but everyone knows this one reference from it. It's like a one-hit wonder for films kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Kinda.
but it's like a moment as opposed to, oh, this film was great, but all the sequels were bad.
Yeah.
It's just, nope, this is just a random reference that just exists in the cultural
everybody.
zeitgeist.
It permeated everything, and everybody knows what it is. So, I mean, that's all I have to say about that universe. But really funny.
Yeah. In a world where, in a movie where sausage fingers exist, the Ratatouille was the most absurd thing. Especially because at the end of that universe bit, she picks him up and oh no, she gets on his shoulders.
Yeah,
and so she
controls
uses him to like run faster. Because I always thought that was funny. She's like, okay, so a rat is able to sort of, you know, giant mech suit this kid into like cooking. So what's stopping anyone from grabbing his hair and just like making him do anything?
You know, you have a baby and a little pack on your back, and it grabs your hair and stuff, and it makes you walk into traffic. We haven't seen that happen. Is there anything else to talk about before the end?
Well, I'd like to talk about Joy's costumes in this film. And when she's in full villain mode and going through universe, like every time she like jumps, she's wearing some new ridiculous outfit. And I loved all of them. And I at one point turned to my wife as we were watching this movie because she watched it with me, and I was just like, man, Comic-Con this year is going to be filled with like so many of the costumes in this film. Like I think this will be a big hit in terms of cosplay. Yeah, because there's a lot of fun outfits in this.
Yeah, there really is.
And not just from her, from everybody.
Well, before we get to the end, I want to really commend this movie for forethought in the filmmaking process, because you'll have a scene where Evelyn gets hit in the face with a pillow and feathers go everywhere, but then we'll get like a jump to her doing her taxes, and then there'll be feathers falling down on her paperwork, and then you jump to her being a Benihana chef, and there'd be like feathers in the food. And it just showing how, you know, not necessarily that it's affecting all of them, but it just makes for a really interesting editing.
Yeah.
And you have to really think of that way in advance, like storyboard sequences. Like when this happens, we want feathers to show up in all these different worlds. So when you start filming these other worlds, you have to make sure, okay, we got to get the feather shot. And you have to do this for a lot of different things. So you really have to have a vision of what this movie is going to look like and be edited together before you even start. And it is flawless. It is amazing the things that they do in this.
I would love to see the script of this film.
Yeah.
And see like how much of this was already on paper, or how much of it was done like on set. Like, okay, we need to change this thing, and like, or maybe something happened and they had needed to pivot. Like, okay, we can't do this thing anymore, so now we're doing this universe, and just like a breakdown of every universe. And if they like shot a bunch of other stuff and it's like, oh, it doesn't quite work, or like they just knew that this is the story they wanted, and then all the other universes were just kind of like fun. Like, oh, we'll throw this in, we'll throw this in, we'll throw this in. But yeah, I if you told me the script was 400 pages, I'd be like, oh, well, of course it is, because they need to get all these details in. Yeah. But obviously a 400-page script would never be made.
No. But yeah, really well made, good, funny, well acted. I love this movie. I don't know why I can't give it an A+, so I gave it an A. I don't know what's holding it back. Maybe if there was one or two other super crazy ones like Hot Dog Fingers that showed up, but you know, I think that rating is more on me. So it really is an A+ movie, but in my notes it's getting an A.
All right. I can't believe you gave it a rating before we got done.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. All right, let's talk about the ending.
All right, so we get to the ending, and Joy wants our Evelyn to look into the everything bagel. Which is essentially this black hole kind of thing that also looks like just a bagel, and all the different
little toppings on it.
Little toppings kind of like circling around, going in. It's like, what a perfect little thing. The everything bagel is.
It has everything from everywhere.
Every universe. And then she's like, if you look into it, you'll be just like me, and we can finally understand each other. And I think in Joy's mind, it was sort of meant to destroy her.
I think it's like, if you unmake it all, then I don't even have to like think anymore.
Yeah. But it just kind of made Evelyn realize like
the things she had in life.
And like the whole message of the movie is like kind of love is the greatest thing in all universes, and it doesn't matter. And Wayman is by the end of it I thought, oh, Wayman is Desmond from Lost. He's the constant, because no matter what universe you go into, Wayman never stops loving Evelyn. Wayman always does everything he can to make Evelyn happy and feel fulfilled, and like I'm almost like in tears watching this movie. I didn't cry, but I was just like, I was starting to get emotional. I was like, man, like this, right when it was losing me with all like after all the action sequences and stuff, like it really gets you right in the feels.
Yeah.
And I think it did great. And my fiance's crying next to me because just anything with emotion, she's so full of empathy. I love it. It's beautiful. But like Michelle Yeoh like confessing to her daughter, it's just like you are enough to me, and you don't have to. It's like, and telling her father, it's like, yeah, this is her girlfriend, and all that stuff. It's just, I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised with the beauty of it all, and that this silly multiverse, nothing matters, because like that was the whole thing. It's just like nothing matters across the universe. Like everything we do, it doesn't matter. And then it's just like, no, love matters, people matter, like caring for other people, like that's what matters. And it was the most beautiful movie I've seen this year, and I was blown away by the end. It was just like, it had me in the first part, lost me a little bit in the second part, and then by the end, it sucked me back in. I was like, this movie's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely my favorite of the year so far, but it hasn't really been a great year. It's this and Morbius, baby. Best movies.
This movie is both in my top 10 and my bottom 10 of the year, because we've definitely, not counting all your little side movies.
Yeah.
We've definitely seen 10 movies this year, right? Oh, over 10 movies?
I don't know. Maybe.
What have you seen this year?
Theatrical
releases of 2022.
Let's
check the list.
So this, Morbius, I saw X, The Batman, Studio 666, Uncharted, Moonfall, Scream. That's like 7 for me. I mean, like, Fresh is a 2022 movie, but that was a Hulu thing. So just...
Jackass Forever. That's one. I Want You Back. Uncharted.
Batman,
yeah.
Batman and Everything Everywhere. Tied for first.
Turning Red. So that's 5.
Oh, yeah. Was that in theaters? No. That was a direct to Disney.
But, I mean, it's Pixar, baby. Okay.
But did we say what counts as a movie?
All right. You're right. I mean, kind of. Okay. Yeah. Well, in that case, I've seen 5 movies this year. Yeah. And we're in April. Yeah. Holy shit.
But
why do we have a podcast?
We get to talk about all the cool things, like the Oscars.
Oh, God.
But in the coming weeks, like, we have The Northman, we have The Incredible Weight of Massive Talent.
Yes.
Okay. I hate that the ads have just reduced it to Massive Talent. It's like, it's a thing that Fox did a lot for their shows. When Arrested Development was on, every commercial would be like, stay tuned for a new Arrested. It's like, it's not called Arrested. It's called Arrested Development. There's more to that title. And I get, from a marketing standpoint, it's a long title. And if you just say Massive Talent, okay, that works. It just bugs me. Just call it that from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, they did it with the Harley Quinn movie because that had a super long title.
Yeah.
But that one they should have just called Harley Quinn. There was no reason to like have the whole
Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
That's it. Not the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. AKA the Harley Quinn solo movie.
Right.
AKA Suicide Squad 2.
Sometimes it's warranted, but a lot of times it's not.
Yeah. It's like the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Crawford. Okay, it's very long, it's a mouthful, but that's what the movie's about, It makes sense. Yeah, so we got some stuff coming up. What's the next big release? Oh, Doctor Strange is the next big one.
Big one.
That's like that's like 2 weeks away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not this. It is this weekend, right? No.
let's go to our third co-host, Echo. When does Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness come out?
The film Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness will be released on Friday, May 6th, 2022.
May 6th?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay.
2 weekends. So we got a next week we'll probably do. What do you want to see first, Northman?
Yeah.
I'd rather see Northman first.
Yeah.
We'll do that, and I'm going to try to see Massive Talent as well.
Yeah, I think Massive Talent will be a lot more fun to talk about.
Sure.
And actually, I haven't looked too much into it, but I have heard it's actually not bad.
Yeah.
And from the first time I saw the trailer, I was like, I bet this is gonna suck.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a couple more viewings of the trailer, I was like, you know what, this could be fun.
Yeah. And I guess the writer, I mean, maybe it was a joke, but they were saying, like, if they couldn't get Nicolas Cage, they wanted, like, Daniel Day-Lewis, which, good luck.
In what universe is like, we couldn't get Nicky, but we'll get Danny Boy.
Yeah.
There's no way Daniel Day-Lewis would turn this down.
So I'm thinking it may have been a joke, but I always thought this movie was specifically written about Nicolas Cage, for Nicolas Cage.
100%, yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, well, we got some stuff coming up, and maybe we'll have some more This Meets That, and maybe a Make Me Watch. We haven't done one of those in a while.
Yeah, I think a Make Me Watch would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun. So who knows what next week will bring. We actually have a couple episodes in the can that, just for padding's sake, in case something comes up. I guess that's it. Is that it?
I guess so.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Well, thanks for tuning in. What did you guys think of Everything Everywhere All at Once? If you want to contact us, our email is WRPLpodcast@gmail.com, or we're on Twitter and Instagram at WRPL Podcast. Hit us up, say hi. Tell us to shut up and stop recording. Whatever. We'll take troll hate. That's fine. So, as usual, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Good night.